Sikhs are known for their amazing valor and powers in battle. Time and time again, they have proved this, but one example stands above all others. Hello everyone, and welcome to the History Channel. Today, we are going to tell you about one of the most historic battles in Sikh history. Yes, we are talking about the Battle of Saragarhi, where 21 Sikhs would go toe-to-toe with 10,000 Afghans. So, let us begin the video. As the Russians advanced eastward in Turkestan from 1881 to 1885, attempts were taken to avert an all-out conflict. In 1885, the two came to an agreement. A border commission was established in British India with the approval of Abdur Rahman Khan, the Emir of Afghanistan, to finally delineate the domains of British and Afghan influence. This formed the Durand Line, which is still a point of contention today. Following the agreement, Britain began a forward strategy of seizing frontier territory and maintaining a presence in areas inhabited by the Pathans, the local tribes. Brigadier General Sir William Lockhart conducted 2 Miranzai Field Force missions to the Samana, a mountain range, in 1891, with the goal of bringing the tribes under British administration and eventually constructing forts on the high land of the Mastan Plateau. By May, the Commander-in-Chief of India, General Sir Frederick Roberts, after 1st Baron Roberts of Kandahar, had issued a memorandum outlining the installations and roads that would be built for the military occupation of the range. Lockhart and Gulistan, 2 new major forts, were built on strategic land. Other smaller picket posts were constructed nearby, including on the high section of the main range west of the Saragarhi hamlet. This station, which was 1.5 miles west of Lockhart and 1.75 miles east of Gulistan, should be visible from both forts, according to Roberts's notes. Saragarhi was the most crucial of the piquets because it allowed heliographic signal communications, signals employing flashes of sunlight between the 2 major forts to be maintained. While Samuel Morse created the telegraph in 1835, the heliograph became an essential way of transmitting Morse code on the frontier. While field telegraphs were set up between Lockhart and Gulistan, the wire that carried the signals was constantly cut by the locals. When they were repaired, the adversary persisted, necessitating the development of a new method of communication. The heliograph at Saragarhi would utilize flashing lights to communicate Morse code. The 36th Sikh Regiment of Bengal Infantry was dispatched to Samana. It was raised in March 1887 with the express purpose of quelling tribal rebellion along the troublesome northwestern frontier. Colonel Jim Cook and the famed Captain Henry Holmes established the battalion together with its sister regiment, the 35th Sikhs, the latter being the largest and strongest man in the Indian Army at the time. He is claimed to have challenged men in Ludhiana, Punjab, to a wrestling contest with the condition that, if they lost, they would join the army. Young guys flocked to attempt to beat the British in this unique recruitment method. While recruiting took place across Punjab, 225 men were transferred to the 36th from other Punjab Frontier Force and Bengal Army units, raising the regiment's total strength to 912 men in 8 companies by January 1888. After a period of training and domestic movements, the regiment's commander, Lieutenant Colonel John Houghton, son of an Afghan war hero of the same name, led the regiment to the Samana posts in January 1897. While the 36th Sikhs went about their regular duties, the Afridi people of neighboring Tirah rose up in violation of the 16-year peace agreement they had with the British. By August 1897, the Mullah of Hada, a powerful preacher, had declared a jihad to wage a holy war and protect the Holy Prophet's faith. The Afridis enlisted the help of their neighboring Orakzai tribe and marched against Samana. On September 9th, a reconnaissance mission dispatched to the Samana Suk, the mountain range's highest peak, discovered a large army of tribesmen gathered near Kangarbur. 29 standards were counted, indicating the enemy numbers. The next day, additional foes arrived, bringing the total number of opponents to 25,000. Haughton's 36th Sikhs were dispersed over the pickets and forts, with 168 troops under his command at Lockhart and 175 firearms under Major Charles de Vaux at Gulistan. Stop and Saragarhi each had 21 Sikhs in their pickets, and the latter also had a camp companion named Dads, who cleaned and cooked for the regiment. The detachment commander, Havildar Ishar Singh, gazed through his binoculars from the watchtower of his station on that fateful morning and saw columns upon columns and rows upon rows of Pathans. Enemy approaching the main gate, need reinforcement, said Sepoy Gurmukh Singh, the detachment signaller, as he climbed the signaling tower to put up his heliograph. The 36th Sikh's commanding officer, Lieutenant Colonel Haughton, tried to hurry his soldiers to help the outmanned Sikhs, but it was too late. The Pathans had cut off the supply line between Fort Lockhart and Saragarhi in a methodical fashion. Unable to break through, hold position, Fort Lockhart reported back. Haughton counted at least 14 enemy standards, each representing 1,000 tribesmen, facing the 21 Sikh soldiers as he looked from Fort Lockhart. Havildar Ishar Singh received this communication from Sepoy Gurmukh Singh. As he evaluated the dire circumstances in which he and his men found themselves, Havildar Ishar Singh urged his soldiers to discuss with one another whether they should maintain the fort or evacuate it in the hopes of survival. The Sikhs unanimously decided that the job should be completed. Understood, Saragarhi said. Havildar Ishar Singh was a pious Sikh and a fatherly figure to his battalion, and the troops under his leadership were well aware of his abilities. Havildar Ishar Singh was well versed in the region, particularly the Pathans' temperament and combat prowess. As the Pathans advanced, one of the sepoys sounded the bugle in accordance with Havildar Ishar Singh's orders, and the Sikhs formed two lines abreast, one crouching and the other standing. Havildar Ishar Singh refused to fire until the enemy was within 250 meters of his position. The .303 caliber proved lethal and effective at this range, especially when combined with the line abreast formation's grouping shots. The Pathan advance's first line had been utterly annihilated. However, there was no time to celebrate their achievement. The Pathans prepared a multi-pronged assault on both flanks, with the goal of dividing the outnumbered Sikhs into much smaller groupings. The tribesmen assaulted in two columns, one aimed at the fort's main gate and the other towards the fort's gap. Unfazed, Havildar Ishar Singh and his troops roared their regimental battle cry, Jo Boli So Nihal Sat Sri Akal. Whoever says the following sentence will be successful, the timeless being is true. The Sikhs repelled the tribesmen's onslaught once more. Some tribesmen had fallen mere yards from the Sikhs' position at this point. The number of Sikh soldiers and ammunition was starting to diminish. There were now 10 men left out of a total of 21 at the outset of the conflict. The conflict lasted from 0900 until 1200 hours, with the Sikhs repelling 7 attacks by the tribesmen. Despite being severely wounded by bullets and saber cuts, Havildar Ishar Singh continued to command his soldiers. Low on ammo, need ammo urgently. Sepoy Gurmukh Singh informed Fort Lockhart Battalion HQ at 1400 hours. Lieutenant Colonel Houghton attempted but failed to deploy his own orderly to deliver the ammo to the besieged Sikhs. As the Pathans assaulted again, the Sikhs, who numbered less than 10 men, put up a valiant fight and successfully repelled the attack. The tribesmen used a tried-and-true strategy. Around Fort Saragarhi, they set fire to the shrubs and scrubs. The fort was shrouded in smoke, making it hard for the Sikhs to see the enemy. Because of their lofty location above Saragarhi, soldiers at Fort Lockhart could easily see the tribesmen approaching. Enemy approaching the breach. Lieutenant Colonel Houghton hastily notified Saragarhi. By this moment, Havildar Ishar Singh had been gravely hurt and had ordered the surviving Sikhs to retreat to the inner wall. He then ordered 2 sepoys to pull him to the breach in order to buy his soldiers some time. They adjusted their bayonets and assaulted the tribesmen despite the fact that they were out of ammo. With this action, Havildar Ishar Singh taught his soldiers the ultimate lesson in genuine leadership. Only 5 Sikhs were alive when the tribesmen broke into the fort. 4 were in the interior building, while Sepoy Gurmukh Singh was stationed at the signaling tower. The Sikhs were not defeated. Instead, they formed an all-around defensive stance with their bayonets facing outwards and their backs against each other. In a heroic display, these 4 Sikhs then fought hand-to-hand with the tribesmen. Main gate breached, down to 1. Request permission to dismount and join the fight. Sepoy Gurmukh Singh transmitted at 1500 hours 30 minutes. Permission granted, the order said. Sepoy Gurmukh Singh dismantled his heliograph, grabbed his gun, and down the signaling tower to join the battle. Soldiers at Fort Lockhart witnessed him vanish into the midst of the action, directly into the line of the tribesmen. His last words reverberated through the room. Jo bole so nihal, sat sri akal. At the age of 19, Sepoy Gurmukh Singh, the youngest of the Sikhs, was credited with single-handedly killing 20 tribesmen before succumbing. He was the last to fall at Saragarhi. After destroying Saragarhi, the Afghans moved on to Fort Gulistan, but they had been delayed too long, and reinforcements arrived during the night of September 13 to the 14th, preventing the fort from being taken. The Pashtuns eventually claimed that they had lost roughly 180 men killed and many more injured in the battle with the 21 Sikh soldiers. But the rescue team reported seeing 600 dead surrounding the damaged post. However, the fort had been retaken on September 14th by the use of intensive artillery fire, which may have caused many casualties. The overall number of losses in the campaign, including the Battle of Saragarhi, was roughly 4,800. The heliograph, which was the reason the soldiers battled to protect Saragarhi, would also be the source of their fame. Descriptions of their bravery were heliographed and then telegraphed back to London by a Times correspondent and subsequently reported in newspapers all over the globe. I admire the valor displayed by those great warriors, India's Commander-in-Chief wrote. The members of the United Kingdom Parliament gave a standing ovation when the heroism of Saragarhi was told to them. The Saragarhi story was also brought to Queen Victoria's attention, In their own words, members of the British Parliament said that the 36th Sikh regiments are a source of pride for both the British and the Indians. It is no exaggeration to say that armies containing the courageous Sikhs cannot be defeated in battle. All 21 Sikh non-commissioned officers and other ranks who died in the Battle of Saragarhi were posthumously given the Indian Order of Merit, the highest gallantry honor an Indian soldier could earn from the British Crown at the time, the Victoria Cross being the comparable gallantry medal. This honor is comparable to the President of India's Paramveer Chakra today. The conflict has become emblematic of Eastern military civilization, military history of the British Empire, and Sikh history. Each year on September 12th, the current Sikh regiment commemorates the Battle of Saragarhi as Regimental Battle Honours Day. To honor the troops, the British constructed 2 Saragarhi Gurudwaras, one in Amritsar at the Golden Temple's main entrance, and another at Firozepur Cantonment, where the majority of the men were from. Saragarhi is now officially remembered in the United Kingdom, as are other lost border conflicts. The annual memorial ceremony will be held in the National Memorial Arboretum, site to the UK's earliest First World War Sikh memorial, to commemorate and celebrate all those who fought and died on the forgotten frontier this year in honor of the 120th anniversary. Many comparisons have been drawn between this battle and the battle at Thermopylae, where 300 Spartans laid down their lives against a horde of Persians. So that is all the time we had today, folks. Hope you enjoyed this video. Do not forget to subscribe to our channel and do hit the bell icon on your way out. See you all next time.